Many of the things that I'm very proud of in my life, that's been a risk, right? And it's been about, okay, we've got to take this risk, we've got to jump in, and we've got to see what happens. We've got to follow the process, be disciplined in that process, but that's actually where all of the results through my life have come from. I become more professional the more I train. So I've trained every day, I'm at work, way less stressed, way more to make, more informed decisions. I've got a much more clearer path of where the company's going, how we're going to achieve those goals, and I'm nicer to be around, to be honest, like when I've been training. So that's been really, really useful. Failure after failure after failure. We've failed, we haven't won, but we've learned, move forward. And then you hit those no's, right? And then all of a sudden, one of those no's is a yes, because you'll just be at the right time in the right place for the right person to believe in the business and believe what your dream is, and you're away, and then it starts to snowball. Well guys, we're here. Episode 1, We'll Heal the Recovery with the Visions Network. Thank you for allowing me to document this whole process. I'm really looking forward to working with you guys and seeing some amazing content, and it's going to be an exciting journey, so I'm just looking forward to get going. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys.
Can't wait. Let's start all the way from the beginning.
Cool.
Just let people know, who are you? How did we get to this point?
Mm-hmm.
And everything in between. Because obviously I've seen you train, I've seen you doing a lot of things. I've seen you when you weren't.
Yeah.
When there was no surgery.
When I had 2 working legs. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So just please take us back to the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. So my whole life has been fairly sporty. I had a really fortunate upbringing. My parents were both, quite strict, or I suppose quite keen on pushing us into physical activity. So as a kid, we would be part of swimming teams, boxing teams, football teams, and do like a whole array of sports throughout primary school into secondary school, which was fantastic. And then from secondary school, started to build from there, started to take things more seriously. And athletics was one of those things. As I went through school, started to show some promise for more sort of 200 and 400 metre distances at that time. And again, was fortunate enough to make the athletics teams and enjoy that process. So, we were part of like the year teams, and the year teams going into the county teams, and then county teams moving across different competitions and stuff like that. So that was kind of like my school sporting life, I suppose. And as I come to the end of school, again, really enjoying it, knew that sport was something I was really passionate about. Was still sort of like trying to find which direction I was going in, still competing and training in athletics. But sadly, at the end of school, would have been 2003, just coming into year 11. I was actually training at your club at Harrow, well, Roger Bannister's, as it was called then. And training there, and sadly, a bit of a horrific injury while sprint training on a corner, snapped my navicular in my foot. So the bones here, top of my foot where the tendon leads to the big toe, snapped down. So that was a total wipeout. And yeah, sadly that sort of put me in recovery for like 2 years really, of like, when you're 16 at that time, you can't really do much with the foot, body shape's changing, they don't really want to make any surgical changes to the structure of the foot. So let it set where it needs to set, and it's going to be what it's going to be. So yeah, at that time we were running really well. There was promise definitely for the 2 and 400. Like I say, we were getting closer towards that sort of 50-second mark on the 4s. We were getting down. We were getting below 24. We were in and around the 24 seconds for 200s, and it was coming down nicely. But yeah, sadly that's where that ended. So from there though, didn't give up fitness. It was still something I really enjoyed doing. So recovered for 2 years. Was joining different gyms, doing different sort of activities that I could do at that point, and building the foot back up. And yeah, just continued for the next 20 years of keeping fit, still boxing training, not competing, but just training consistently, keeping my mind and body, fit. And I love the process. So I think the foundation was built from school. Yeah. And then the journey from there was just one of like, exploration. After the injury, I just had to see what was out there, and enjoyed it, loved it. And then from there, moved to Hemel, and when I was training in another gym, actually a boxing gym here in Hemel, a really nice girl, Emma Mago, she came over to me and said, "Oh, do you run?" I was like, "I used to, at school, bits." but I loved it. She was like, well, I run at the track at Decorum. And I was like, oh, cool. And I didn't realise there was much of a senior scene going on there. I was 37 then, so I was like, okay, cool. Went up there and it was just, reignited wow, this is really cool.
Yeah.
Met yourself, met John and the guys at 710, which was fantastic. So, yeah, I really enjoyed sort of getting back into that athletics and then found the passion for it. And, obviously meeting you was a big thing because then I went to the England Athletics with you and I was like, watched you compete. And I was like, whoa, this is insane. And then I sort of realised how alive the masters scene was. So I could start to think, okay, I can compete again and maybe compete seriously.
Yeah.
And then, training started going well. Training with you was going well. Yeah. The numbers started getting back again. And then just sadly, that old injury reared its head. The tendon almost ruptured in training and doing different bits and pieces. So, sadly, had to go about 3 weeks ago, get an MRI. And the advice was, look, we can leave it and not do anything, or we can actually do the surgery now. Like, they had it, really well documented. I think it's fabulous how they did it. They knew about the break in 2003. They knew about all of these things. They knew how to replace it. So the procedure was cut onto the foot, to strip the tendon back, remove the bone that had snapped and overhealed, which was impeding that tendon, put basically anchors into my foot, put the tendon back, re-anchor it, strap it up, stitch it up, and here we are now. So it sounds dramatic and stuff, but what's really good about that process, I'm very lucky to be able to actually go and get that surgery, have the team that have got me to that point. So from the athletics track to the right physio groups to the right surgeon, and we need to recover it properly, but there's no reason why it shouldn't recover as strong as the left foot or as strong as it ever was. And the whole goal is to try and come back. By that point I'll be 38 now, so I'm wanting to run the M35s 2026 and then M40s thereafter and see what we can do. So that's pretty much my sporting journey. But I have to say, like, sports has been something, I wouldn't say like saved my life, it's been my life. Do you know what I mean? It's given me, by having different businesses, having different stresses in life, sports always been an outlet of me time, constructive me time where I can, make different friends, different communities, and it's been awesome.
Just going to pivot back to what you were saying. Around the time when you rediscovered the track and you went down, what was that process like in terms of that love being reignited in you for track, and then you wanting to, because I remember having these conversations around the times like, I really want to do this, I want to run the 2, I want to run the 4. And in that period of time where you were training, because you spent quite a lot of time training, and the improvements were just insane. Every time I would come down in spurts, if maybe I hadn't seen you for a few weeks, after seeing you again, the improvements were just unparalleled. It was crazy to see the things you're doing, the flow, the relaxation, the utilization of drills, you having the understanding of the movements and what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
It was just fantastic. The progress that you made in such a short period of time was just fantastic. What was it like training and getting that love back?
It's a great question. Really therapeutic, I'd say. Probably like the first thing. I had a nice structure to my week. Go up the track on a Monday, then a Wednesday, then a Saturday. And we're extremely lucky with that track up there. Do you know what I mean? Like, there isn't a huge amount of people there, so you almost get like what I call millionaires running. There's no one else there, so you get a fantastic track, fantastic facility. The coaching is like second to none with John Garner. I mean, he's just such a great guy, and like, he can really dial into what you want to achieve and actually be realistic with it as well. So it was quite nice to sort of get the like ego boost with like John and yourself saying, no, we could actually do something here. Like, this is cool. Like, we could actually really push on. So that was cool. And then I enjoyed the process of like understanding the biomechanics of it again. The feeling of hitting the track. That, okay, my foot's bouncing onto that nicely, and I'm actually moving. Then when I first put spikes back on for ages, I was like, oof, this is nice. I really enjoyed it. So like, I was like, okay, I want to repeat that process, see what we can do. And and that alongside sort of a community of people that are up there as well. John's got groups of people of all different abilities. Like, people, you train up the track, people who are like GB level like yourself, like they're like the very, very high end. And you got people, I suppose, similar to myself, who like a fairly good standard but building again, was good, coming back, that sort of area. And there's a lot of those guys there as well. And there's also a lot of guys up there that just go for like training's sake. They love being there, they love the community, they love the track feel, they like the feeling of that athletes feel, and I think that really breeds a nice community up there. So that was awesome. So the experience has been nothing but positive, even down to understanding I needed surgery. Like, do you know what I mean? That's all. I view this as just part of the process that we started.
For sure.
So yeah, it's been great.
Were there any changes in your body in terms of, before you were saying you were running and you were going to the gym doing boxing? It's sport and it's exercise and it's high level exercise, but it has a different toll on the body compared to sprinting.
Yeah.
What kind of changes did you go through physically in that time of you taking up sprint training? You were saying about your week and the structure.
Yeah.
What kind of changes did you undergo?
Physiologically, like, it keeps everything very honest, I find, sprinting. So I feel like with my training, even for the last 20 years, I train well. Aesthetically, you would look, very athletic, but actually performing different plyometric movements, being able to perform like high level impact stuff, you kind of understand that you haven't drilled that anywhere near enough. So the biomechanics start to become more, familiar once the more sprint training you do. So you do understand, okay, my feet are becoming more reactive to the floor. Like I'm becoming more explosive when I'm in the blocks. First time I did blocks for, 20 years, it's almost like I just fell out of them.
I remember that day.
Yeah, I was like, oh. And I was like, because there was no push.
Yeah.
And you forget that sort of movement, the remembrance of, throwing that arm up, slamming that foot down. Yeah. Those things are just not, if you don't drill them, you forget them. Yeah. And the sharpness just goes like straight away, So I think the most like enjoyable part of that process was then when things start firing again. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. That was nice. So I think it was a very therapeutic process because you start reigniting, those transitions in the body where you're transitioning from falling out of a block to getting a bit quicker to then actually getting out of the blocks, then getting to a corner, understanding it. So it was physiologically, I feel like it was all progressive, but the whole time we were running with like an old injury. Yeah. It did feel like the pressures on the body were real because at a gym you can kind of lay off. You can sort of like, oh, I'm not gonna hop on that foot too much. I'm not gonna explode on that too much. I'm not gonna do that. But sprinting, it's that line to that line, and the toll on the body is big. Yeah, so absolutely. And you have to be able to manage it, and have to be able to, as you get older, understand the body, understand what you can and can't do, what your recovery process is longer, what you're going to need to do for recovery, how serious you need to take that. So yeah, it's been a great journey so far.
How are you able to prioritize that recovery? Of course, you do a lot of things. You've got multiple businesses, family life.
Yeah.
How are you able to balance all of that in terms of the training? Because, like you said, it's a very structured week.
Yeah,
As well as the track, you had the strength and conditioning side. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, well. It was 6 days a week training, which for me allows me. The knock-on effect is positive in every way. So it allows me to work in a much more. I become more professional the more I train. So I train every day. I'm at work, way less stressed, way more to make more informed decisions. I've got a much more clearer path of where the company's going, how we're going to achieve those goals, and I'm nicer to be around, to be honest, like when I've been training. So that's been really, really useful. And in regards to recovery, actually family life that's been a really good way to blend the two together. So our Sundays, with the dog and stuff that you met when you came in, go for a walk, go out, grab a coffee somewhere, go, get some food, come back, relax, we cook together, spend time together. That's been really, really key and integral to that. And I think that's why I'm sort of like most days sitting here and just thinking how lucky I am to have the support unit, friends and family that I've got around me, and they become that recovery process. A good friend of mine where my girlfriend works, he's got a farm called The Croft in Hemel, and he's got like saunas and ice baths and all that sort of stuff up there. He runs retreats. Wow. And just to have that as your, you can just go and use that whenever you want. Go for a walk around in the countryside and stuff. It's an incredible recovery on your doorstep with, with the added bonus of having a nice social aspect as well. So that's how I kind of blended it together. Just made it wasn't so much things I had to do, it's things I made my lifestyle. That was how we managed that.
Nice. And I know you got the chance to compete as well prior to the
injury.
I was able to be along for a couple of those.
A few of those,
some of my races.
Absolutely,
What was that like, that first time competing in such a long time since it'd been?
Yeah, I mean,
when you were young.
It was daunting. I mean, I had to say it was daunting. The outdoor season, I mean, hundreds isn't really my race, but it's something I wanted to look at and, say, okay, we needed to get near to sort of, I was hoping to be 12 and below, but we weren't there then. I was like, okay, cool, that's fine. We need somewhere to start anyway. Started running quite well, and then that reignited for me the want to compete, and then it actually exposed me to what I could compete in, which is actually quite a lot out there. So it was really positive in that way. And then as the indoor season drawed round, I'd only run indoors very briefly in my sort of last seasons as where was I, like year 11. So that was only a couple of 200 meter races. running at Lee Valley, which was cool. But going back there, doing that again, feeling the indoor track, feeling those banks, feeling the 200-meter track, which is odd. You know what I mean? Like, because running one loop is for 200 is quite a different feeling. There's two quite big bends in there, so that was cool. It was interesting, and it put me back into touch with where athletics was as well, because it's quite easy to leave the world of athletics. You can drift away from it, and there's not so much of a pull back to it unless you're actually competing, or you've got a friend or a child who's competing in athletics. So it was quite cool to see that, and it was interesting to see how athletics is built up since I've been back into it. So I've watched Sprint, the documentary, like 2 times over since I've been in the cars. And I think it's great to see that athletics is now starting to see like a couple of superstars coming through. That for the British guys, you've got like Zarnell Hughes and those guys. They're all in that documentary. Noah Lyle is obviously probably the main figure in it. But then you've got Leslie Tobago. Yeah, he's coming. He's coming through more and more, and I'm just interested to see how this athletics, is it the Grand Prix that Michael Johnson started in America?
Yeah. So is it Grand Slam track?
Grand Slam track, that's it. Yeah. So like how that sort of brings it from being, it's like Destiny. You go to athletics meets and sometimes you'll run once, for like less than 30 seconds or less than a minute. Yeah. Be there for 7 hours, and it's quite lonely. You know what I mean? Like just sort of sitting there. There's only so much you can drill, only so many races you want to watch. But I just would like to see how athletics now starts to springboard forward into a sport that attracts youngsters and it keeps them attracted. It doesn't just attract you at school and then you leave. It keeps you attracted for a little bit further, and there's more of a community of, you don't have to run for GB to be an athlete. You can be like, you can be there, quite socially, I suppose. And if you were going to say like I'm a fun runner, a lot of that actually happens in parks and stuff like that, doesn't it? Like it's marathons, it's fun runs, it's 5Ks. Yeah. Don't really know anyone who's got a community of like 200-meter runners who just go and run 200 meters for fun. Yeah. You've got to be of a certain standard to really want to go and do it. But I hope we can start to see that come through now. So, absolutely. And it was cool. It was cool to see the scene again and spend time with people.
Fantastic. So in this process of you've been back training, were you feeling any discomfort with the foot around the time that you'd started?
Yes, it's always been there. Yeah. What really, you asked about the training, I noticed, you notice everything in your body while you're sprinting. Mm-hmm. So, while you're at a gym or, at boxing as well, you can kind of manage the fact that your right foot isn't as strong as your left. Even though I'm right-handed, you can manage it. With sprinting and competing at any level with sprinting, you can really feel the impact on every foot. So I could feel there was not enough power coming out of my right foot. So blocks, I'd always start with my left foot leading anyway, but then first strike with my right foot was always a collapse. I could feel it. You could feel it coming down and not generating enough power, which was interesting, and that kind of highlighted the fact that injury was still there and I was going to need to do something about it eventually. Whether that was physio, which I did do for a long time, or it was effectively what led to the surgery. But yeah, I think the foot had always been there. It was something we were managing. And then when it got to a point where we had to do something about it, we did, and that's where we find ourselves now. So yeah, fantastic. All part of the journey.
Yeah, fantastic. And just prior to obviously when we got the surgery and you made the decision to go forward, I know you've changed. Your training had to change slightly.
Yeah.
Not sprinting anymore.
No.
What was it like in that change of training? How was that for you? What did you learn or gain from it? I was able to see you doing some sessions and man.
What did I learn? I learned I didn't really like distance. Like one lap's enough. Yeah. I think what I was doing then was I spoke to John and I was like, look, I don't think sprinting is not a good idea for a moment. It was advice from the physio basically. It was like, look, if we keep smashing your feet into the floor, this is gonna hurt, and you could do something longer term here. So let's take a couple of months where you can still train, because training was good for my sort of like mental state. It really helped. I'd built my lifestyle around it. I didn't want to change that, so I had to change my training, which was good to a certain point because I experienced talking about different events. I've competed in a few of these High Rocks events, but as a favour really to my friends who either wanted a partner or wanted a four as part of a team. It's not something that I really have a major passion for, to be honest with you, but it gave me an opportunity to still train and potentially still compete in something fairly competitive that would give me that buzz. Yeah. But I have to say, what I learned from that process was that was all very well and good, but it wasn't actually where my real passion was lying. You know what I mean? Like running the longer distances was good, and to my mind, all it was doing, and what I spoke to you about was, well, this is going to make me a better 400-meter runner once I understand what the process is to get my foot back on track, whether it was physio, whether it was full rehab, whether I didn't need surgery, or whether it was, eventually MRI, okay, surgery is the only option. We've got to go through and do that. So I think it was just it was a good learning process, but something that I don't know if I want to repeat, to be honest. But yeah, nonetheless, cool and a lot of fun.
So we had the surgery last Thursday.
Last Thursday, yeah.
And the days leading up, how are you feeling?
On the days leading up, I was, pumping myself up. I was like, I want to be fit for next year. I want to be good for the summer, and this is the right path. We've exercised everything. We've done the right process. We've worked with John. We've worked with Mark, Physio to Go, who John introduced me to. They've been great. So everything felt like we'd done everything to get to that point. There'd been 20 years almost in the making. So I felt like this is the right process. Yeah. And the day before the surgery, I thought, I don't know if I want to do this. What if it doesn't go right? Because they always do say that to you. They say, look, we presume it will go right. Like you've trained, you don't smoke, you're very healthy, you're not overweight, all the tenants are in really good shape. Yeah. Everything's in your favour here, but there is always the possibility of us doing this surgery and it not becoming what you want it to be. Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, what's my expectation? So I've kind of got to the point the day before the surgery, and I was like, right, okay, all I do know is if we don't do this, nothing's going to change. Right. So like anything I've done in businesses or, any of the things that I'm very proud of in my life, that's been a risk, right? And it's been about, okay, we've got to take this risk, we've got to jump in, and we've got to see what happens. We've got to follow the process, be disciplined in that process, but that's actually where all of the results through my life have come from. So that's how I viewed it. I was like, right, this is it. This is our risk. I'm going to go and take it. And went for it. And I have to say, like I say, my brother has supported me the whole way through. He's actually moved in and helped me with the whole financing of the operation, helped me with absolutely everything up to that point. And how lucky I am to have that. I was like, right, okay, cool. This is the time to do it, and get it done. So I was apprehensive. Yeah. The guys are great. I mean, I went in, they put a needle in my arm, I woke up, and it was done. It was done. Yeah. And that was it.
What was the immediate feelings? As soon as you woke up, what was your thought process?
I tried to wiggle my toes. Yeah. Because I've never had a cast ever. Yeah. That was odd. And then I just sort of thought, well, okay, this is like the very first minutes of the recovery. Yeah. Even like now, while I'm sitting here now, this is like my next couple of days of recovery. Everything is, for me, how I'm recovering. So first thing I asked for from the physio, what are the exercises I need to do? Yeah. How many times a day do I need to do them? Yeah. What's the medication? What does it do? Yeah. Do I need to take it or not? Yeah. Which that's been an interesting process. Like they must have done a good job, because I now don't take any painkillers other than paracetamol at all. Like they're like, you can take ibuprofen, you can take there's all sorts of like cocodamol, everything they've given me. I'm like, all right, cool, I'll take it for the first day or two, but after that I just want to start the process of weaning myself off of any kind of pain medication if I'm not in pain, which I'm not, luckily. It started to feel like I'm moving in the right direction already, which is cool. And like I said, I've had great support, so I can get around okay. It's not too bad.
We've had many conversations in the car, driving to comps, your comps, my comps, everything in between. And one of the things you've said to me that's something I always remember. You always said about you're going to get a lot of no's. Yeah. It's just that one yes that can kind of change everything.
Absolutely, yeah.
To the people that don't know, because they weren't there for the conversation that we had, can you tell a little bit more about that? What does that mean? And in your life, how has that proven to be true? Because I've seen it in mine.
Yeah. I mean, I think when we were having those conversations, where yourself has been, your life is athletics and will continue to be, and that journey is fairly similar to anything that is out of the ordinary, if you like, which was, my life has been, very blessed by having, like I say, the people and the businesses that I've been involved with around me. But out of the ordinary for me was, I started my own businesses. I could have just stayed in the traditional one that was there. That could have been fine. It would have been fine, and it has been. And there would have been amazing opportunities there. But for me, it was about exploring what else was possible, what else we could do. And like I said a moment ago, every successful thing that I've experienced in life has come from saying, okay, I want to see what we can do, how far we can push this, how well this business can run, how much fruit we can bring in and get to people's shelves in the best possible condition, supporting the supply chain and all of those sorts of things. And for me, those ideas of, the grandeur of that always comes with the negativity of there's going to be, I've already got that. No, I've done that. No, that can't be done. No, that's like this. It's very easy for people to say, as soon as you hit a wall, just back away. And for me, the successes in life have come from accepting and almost loving those no's. Great quote. I think it's Will Smith says it. You've got to like fail your way forward. And for me, that's how all of the achievements that I've had through business and successes in life have been achieved. So failure after failure after failure, we've failed. We haven't won, but we've learned. Move forward, and then you hit those no's, right? Yeah. And then all of a sudden, one of those no's is a yes, because you'll just be at the right time in the right place for the right person to believe in the business and believe what your dream is, and you're away. And then it starts to snowball. And then for yourself, it's being the right race at the right time, the right season, just then, and then we run a 10 flat, and then everything falls into place. Yeah. And then it will just start to. That's all those no's I'm talking about. So the no's are just as important as the yeses. In fact, probably more. Yeah. Because if they're all yeses, you don't understand what it means to get that knockback. And I feel like that's the most important part of any life. Like, if I was to advise anybody, even with your guys' business now, what you're going to do, there's going to be a lot of, no, I don't need that. Or, I don't really need that. There's no call for this. And that will be your no's, and you have to take them on and enjoy them. Celebrate the no's, celebrate your losses as much as your wins. And that's how I've sort of viewed life and got through it. And I think that's been a really good way of managing most of the things I've tried to achieve.
For sure. And this is the last one from me, because I don't want to make it too crazy, too long on the first one. There's just so much to get to. We're going to be here for a while.
It's going to be a good process. Yeah.
Because it's the first one, I just want you to say it here and now. When we get back from this and we're better from this, what do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? What are you looking to do on your return back?
So I want to by this. So the recovery process, I've got a couple of goals. I want to recover properly. I want to make sure that all of the steps are taken to get towards getting back to the track. First of all, jogging around the track, and then I want to get back to competing. That's my overall goal. I want to compete for the 710 Athletes Club. They've reintroduced me back into athletics. I want to support John and all of his dreams as well of creating an athletes club where sprinters can go, jumpers can go, whoever wants to be an athlete can go. And I want to compete back on the track, which is what I liked most, running 2 and 400. And I'd like to think, based on where we were getting to before, I've kind of set some like fairly realistic goals for the 400. I want to run 55 or lower on a 400 by, it won't be this outdoor season coming, but the next outdoor season, and then 25 or below or 24 or below on the 200, and start to build from there, and then really start to challenge in the M40s. So I've got like a whole goal to get from M40 to M45. Yeah. I want to be in the top 3 at least then just keep competing as long as I can and keep representing what athletics can do at later life, and just showcase that, and hopefully that'll attract a few more people to come back to the track and start running.
And the great thing is that there's so much available at the Master C.
Exactly.
Europeans, Worlds
Loads.
Indoors, Worlds Europeans, outdoors. It's
absolutely
phenomenal.
And the facility is there, and I just feel like it just needs the recognition. The sport of athletics just needs that recognition, and I just want to support that, because it was the building block for me out of school into staying fit for like 20 odd years and doing loads of different things, meeting some really cool people. So I feel like if you can give that to a few more people, then that'd be great.
Fantastic.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. Cheers.
First one done.
All done. Yeah. Lovely.
Perfect.
All right.
All good?
All good.